Jeffrey Leonard Koons. Jeffrey Levi Koons. Jeffrey Lucas Koons? Okay, I don't actually know his middle name. I just know his middle initial is L. Anyways, Jeff Koons. Oh boy. He is an interesting man. He's done some weird stuff. Exhibit A, balloon dog. Exhibit B, lobster. Exhibit C, Michael Jackson and Bubbles. This last one is part of a sculpture series called Banality. To be banal means to be so lacking in originality as to be obvious and boring. Real classy, right? The sculpture I'll be talking about for the next few minutes is also from the Banality series, and it's called the Pink Panther. You know, like the one you probably saw on all the Sweet and Low packets in the late 2000s. Yeah, that one. So let's take a look at this sweet, sweet sculpture, because there's just no equal. Actually, that's a lie. There are 4 of these. The Pink Panther is a nearly life-size porcelain sculpture of a woman holding, well, the Pink Panther. The fact that the sculpture is both nearly life-size and made out of porcelain is rather odd, considering porcelain is usually reserved for small trinkets, not big sculptures. Anyway, the woman represented here looks a whole lot like the American actress Jane Mansfield. See the resemblance? Probably because the sculpture was modeled after her. Jane was a major Hollywood sex symbol in the 50s, a lot like Marilyn Monroe. Notice that the sculpture is done almost entirely in pastel colors, like Andy Warhol's portraits of Marilyn, with the exception of bright red lips and nails to emphasize sexuality. Jane is partially undressed, in case you hadn't noticed, with her right breast covered by her hand and the other hidden by pink. Yes, he does go by pink. Now, if you take a look behind Jane, you'll see that Pink looks exhausted. Like Jane, it seems that Pink is subject to the struggles of Hollywood stardom. Also, if you pay close attention to what Pink appears to be doing, his tail is reaching dangerously close to Jane's butt, as her dress is quite low cut in the back. Y'all, I hate to break it to you, but this is the part where I have to ruin your childhoods. This sculpture is all about masturbation. Jeff Koons said it himself. Pink Panther is about masturbation. I don't know what she would be doing with the Pink Panther other than taking it home to masturbate with it. Yeah, she's about to start feeling fancy-free. And I wish I could say the bad jokes stop here. They don't. The bad jokes will never stop. Moving on. Doesn't this piece just scream kitsch? In case you don't know what kitsch is, it's art, objects, or design considered to be in poor taste because of excessive garishness or sentimentality, but sometimes appreciated in an ironic or knowing way. Guys, Jeff Koons is the epitome of kitsch. He represents everything that was bad about the 80s. He took objects of childhood innocence and contaminated them with sex and commercialism. Critics hate him. But, as you know, screw the critics. The Pink Panther is a dang good piece, and Koons is a dang good artist. Also, he loves Led Zeppelin. That's all I have to say about that. Next up, we've got the David Vases. Why, you ask? What could they possibly have in common with the Pink Panther? Well, dear viewers, like the Pink Panther, the David Vases are made of porcelain. And, like the Pink Panther, porcelain was not the common material used for this type of piece. These types of vases were usually made of bronze, which was superior compared to porcelain. I mean, personally, I think these are better because they're much prettier. It's not like they need to be practical. They're flower vases. They're about 2 feet tall and 8 inches across at the widest point, made of white porcelain and painted with cobalt blue. Now, most people tend to think of blue and white porcelain as typically Chinese, but what they don't know is that cobalt blue was actually imported from Iran thanks to Chinese expansion. But before I talk any more about the blue, let me tell you how these babies were made. They could have been done in one of two ways. Number 1, the coiling method. Coiling is when clay is rolled onto a long flat surface so that it resembles a long cord. The cords are wrapped around themselves, creating a sculpture. To remove the appearance of the coils, the edges are often smoothed out with the artist's hands or an instrument. This is the older method. The newer one, which most of you are probably more familiar with, is called throwing. Throwing is the process of making pottery on a wheel. The potter uses their hands to shape the pottery as it revolves. Once these vases were sculpted out of white porcelain, then they were painted with the cobalt blue. These paintings on these two vases are quite similar. The neck and feet of the vases are decorated with leaves and flowers, along with a phoenix on the neck, while the main body sports a Chinese dragon. The vases also have handles in the shape of elephant heads. Pretty neat, right? They originally had rings attached to the handles, and if you look closely enough, you can see the break marks on the necks. Also on the neck is, very conveniently, an inscription by the artist. The inscriptions vary a bit on each vase, but here's one of them. Zhang Wenjin from Zhongtang Community, Dejia Village, Shansheng Township, Yushan County, Xinzhou Circuit, a disciple of the holy gods, is pleased to offer a set comprising 1 incense burner and a pair of flower vases to General Hu Jingyi at the original palace in Jingyuan, as a prayer for the protection and blessing of the whole family and for the peace of his sons and daughters, carefully offered on an auspicious day in the 4th month, 11th year of the Zhejiang reign. So, let's break that down a bit. Zhang Wenjin dedicated these to General Hu Jingyi. Okay, well, who the heck is that? I'll tell you. General Hu Jingyi was, you guessed it, a general. He supposedly had supernatural powers and wisdom and the ability to foretell the future. He was deified not long before these vases were created. Speaking of when these were created, when the heck was an auspicious day in the 4th month, 11th year of the Zhejiang reign? According to wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff, that was Tuesday, May 13th of 1351 during the Yuan dynasty. A lot of people think that blue and white porcelain was introduced to China during the Ming dynasty, but this proves that it existed years before then. Alright, now, in case you've been wondering this the whole time, why are these called the David vases? I'm not seeing any reference to David, and the artist's name isn't David. Well, fast forward a few thousand years, all the way to the 1920s. Sir Percival David begins to take an interest in Chinese culture, and begins collecting Chinese art. He amassed nearly 2,000 pieces of ceramics. Among them, take a wild guess. I've been talking about them for the past 4 minutes. Correct! The David vases! Whoa, it's almost as if they were named after him. Okay, anyways, yes, the David vases were named after Sir Percival David. And I'm sure you've had enough of my crappy humor now, so let's wrap this up. The Pink Panther, the David vases, both porcelain, woo! Alright, I'm done. Bye!